Yeah, we're here at the European SharePoint Conference 2015 in Stockholm. God, it's so hard. And with me is?
Asif Rehmani.
Asif, I know you very long time, but
Yeah.
I think we have only met 1 month ago for the first time in Amsterdam. So that's a miracle of the internet, of
That's
the
so
connection. So what you're doing with in the SharePoint universe?
Oh, what am I doing? Oh my God. What I'm doing primarily is empowering users, whether it be end users or power users or even beyond, to get the best impact, the best solution from SharePoint. So what I do currently is training, and I also we have a product called VisulaSP Help System, which also does the exact same thing, but it does it from a product perspective, helping end users and power users with the help they need when they need it, completely in context. So just-in-time learning, basically.
Yeah, and I think you are known as the no-code guy in the SharePoint universe. I know that because I've done also no-code-Solutions in former times. We are both engaged in SharePoint Designer, and you have done lots of videos on the SharePoint Designer.
Yeah.
SharePoint Designer was a tool for us guys who have no intention to write some code, to do some no-code solution. So no-code is one of your topics. Can you please explain what does it mean, no-code solution for a SharePoint user, power user?
Let me give you a little bit of background to begin with, actually. I used to be a developer, so I came to the power user no-code story from the development background. And I think development is still very, very necessary, by the way. It's not something that we can live without. But there's a lot of things that you can do without putting so much effort into it with all the code and make it easily delegated as well with the no-code solutions that people don't realize. Mm-hmm. So I got into it I would say about 8 years ago now, and it's been hard to go back now to development. I've completely gone into no-code story, reason being that it provides us much bigger impact with a much easier to refactor type of solution, right? Currently what I do is I talk about the current story of what a power user can do with all those no-code tools. Mm-hmm. And the first tool that I always start out talking about is the browser. Why start using a tool when you can have the browser with all this list and library and site and security framework and everything functionality where you can build the solutions right there. And now in addition to that we have search web parts, which gives you really wonderful search-based solutions. You have things like a geolocation column, which gives you geographically mapping solutions. You have things such as regular Office applications, which you can use Access, Excel, you can make Access web apps, Excel, Power View dashboards, things like that. There's so much that we can do just to push it in the browser and you have your solution made. Why go the harder route to look into developing a solution from scratch? We already have the framework anyway, right?
And it sounds like it's extreme hacking, but it isn't. It's by intention. It's in the platform.
Absolutely.
The platform is definitely built for that, right?
SharePoint itself I look at this as a platform, as you know, and not only a plug-and-play product. Any company who has tried it to be a plug-and-play product, unfortunately has failed. You cannot deploy SharePoint and just hope that the success will follow. That doesn't happen. Yeah. So once you deploy SharePoint as a platform, you have to treat it like building blocks and you use those building blocks to make your solution from that, right? Now, it's up to you if you use the hard way, which is developing every solution, or you use a little bit easier way, taking the big building blocks and say, all right, I'm going to take this workflow, I'm going to take this form, I'll take this reporting mechanism, and there's my life cycle for onboarding, for example, or vacation scheduling, or something like that. And many people miss understanding what you can do with products like Report Designer or even SharePoint Designer right now, or InfoPath for that matter. There's all these tools that exist in the market right now that you can use to build really powerful solutions. People ask usually that, okay, well, for SharePoint Designer, for example, you started out saying that, right? The end of the life cycle has come for SharePoint Designer. The end of the life cycle has come for InfoPath, which is true. Where do you go from here, right? At this point in time, we have to think about the present. You don't have to go anywhere from here. You can still use those tools if you're in 2013 or in 2010 to make that happen. Yes, you do have to plan for the future. The future is not bleak. These products will be supported in the next version as well, as the Microsoft guys has already mentioned. So think about the present right now, definitely plan for the future, but use the tools that you have in hand right now.
Yeah, I attended your session last month in Amsterdam, and it was a kind of moment of click, because you talked about all the options you have to do no-code solutions on the SharePoint platform. I think, wow, Asif is right. This is stuff I've done 4 or 5 years ago, and maybe I could get all my old presentations and restart it. Not because it's because our customers are still there. They're still on 2010 and they're still on 2013, right. And so why don't they take the opportunity to use the tools, especially on SharePoint Designer? Yeah. Workflow is one option, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the good news is that you're not really making anything from scratch anyway. So for workflows or for things like that, you're actually taking the building blocks and you augmenting them to make your workflows. You're right that a lot of customers for us as well are in 2010 or 2013 right now. They can use those immediately right now to make their team-based or region-based solutions. Now, having said that, if you are looking for an enterprise solution for long-term being, let's say, 5 years or above, then you might want to think about something else, okay? But honestly, these days, when you're looking to build a solution, especially if it's a team-based solution, you're not looking for long-term. You're looking to solve the problem right now, and things will change. Factors will change, variables will change, maybe you'll get acquired or somebody will acquire you and things like that, and processes will change anyway. So think about think about your life cycle of your solution. If the current tools give you what you need for your life cycle, use it. Definitely still plan for the future. The future is a hybrid/cloud. As we heard from Jeff Deeper this morning as well in the keynote, right? That some customers will feel, you know what, we need to stay on-prem. Some will say, you know what, we'll take some workloads, social or things like that, or search to cloud and get the best augment from that. And then some will say, you know what, we're ready to go to the cloud. And Microsoft is committed to honoring all these customers, to servicing all these customers, which is a great story for all of us. Yeah. All of us have been really excited about serving the community, making the best out of what we have right now. And this news is wonderful, knowing that we can help our current customers as well as helping them plan for the future.
So, but for the current users and for the current use cases, no-code-solutions are still an option. Can you tell us that there's some more tools besides SharePoint Designer and list customization, which are there and you can do out-of-the-box customization? InfoPath you already mentioned.
Yeah, well, forms and workflows come into the story a lot. There's where the InfoPath relies and SharePoint Designer for workflows, right? But in addition to that, I mentioned Access Web Apps, for example. Access Web Apps is also a very nice, lightweight solution. But
whenever I heard Web Access Solutions, on every conference, whenever comes a new version of Access, I think, wow, now it's a big time for Access. But I think it never really get that big. It's always a special niche product.
It is. Access has been one of those things where it came at a point where we really needed a database product, right? Back in '97 was it, and then it kind of had a lull in the back end, and then it kind of blew up again. Now what I'm seeing a lot is the Access components have been embedded into 2013 quite a bit, and that's a good current solution to make a lot of use case scenarios, right? So for example, we want to do asset tracking or project assessment, right? And I just need a good tool to be able to put a form out there and have all my data in, let's say, a SQL backend, SQL Azure or SQL on my on-prem. Well, Access is the answer for that right now. It works great. Having said that, of course, you're right that it's like Access on or Access off. It's been back and forth. Quite honestly, as far as the forms technology is concerned, the only options that we have right now are InfoPath, Access Web Apps, ASP.NET Forms, or partners that are out here. That's the only options that we have for forms.
And any other tools like Power BI Designer is there?
Well, Power BI is a great tool. As you know, the interface is still evolving, and the visualization that you see in Power BI is amazing. It's wonderful. It's a developing story still, so we don't know exactly where it's going to end up. But so far, from what I've seen, I think it's great. In addition to Power BI, of course, we've been talking about Delve and Office Graph, and there's so much discoverability that can happen with these tools. But you have to understand that a lot of these things will stay in the cloud. And if customers want to take advantage of some of these things, they will have to go and put some of their components, some of their workloads in the cloud to take advantage of that. A good experience for a customer, for an end user, is not knowing or not caring even where the information lies, like some of the information, not all of it, but if it's sensitive, of course, it's going to be on-prem. If it's not sensitive, it could be in the cloud, but for a user looking at a site or looking at a portal, they should be able to say, all right, well, I need to go to my HR, or I need to go to my IT, or I need to go to my sales department, or I need to look at product information, and they automatically end up in the right location, whether in the cloud or on-prem, without thinking about it. That's the best scenario. And that's exactly where Microsoft is heading with the 2016 on-prem product.
Okay, but still, NoCode-Solutions, a valid option for people on the
so.
And you were one of the first I know that started to do heavenly screen recordings, and you created a complete website, SharePoint Videos.
Yes.
On that, where you distributed videos on how to use SharePoint Designer to workflows. And so you're a little bit experienced in workflows, in videos.
Very experienced in videos. Yeah. It all came out of necessity, actually. You know, we had a lot of people asking, can you show me what you just showed again? So we started recording it, right? It was myself and another partner at that time who did that, and we started putting it on the site. Eventually we monetized and we started making a subscription model, but in the beginning it was all free, just putting it out in the community. And we still do that right now, by the way, but right now we do it with the latest and greatest stuff like that. The SharePoint Designer and things like that, we don't have any continuation anymore for that, but whatever customers need to know to build their solutions, like you said, without code, without having to do too much effort to put in there, we focus on the end user and power user market to make this happen.
Yeah, and we see that video as a medium for businesses gets more and more attention, even with Office 365 video. And so it's a good idea to have a concept how you can create videos, and you use it for end users training or for training.
Yeah, let me talk about that a little bit. So we discovered that, how should I say this nicely, end users are not very motivated to go outside to watch videos or any kind of training content outside of their SharePoint environment. So what we started doing was we provided just-in-time learning to the users where they are when they need it. You know, I like saying, I believe in this, that the training for SharePoint end users, a thorough training for SharePoint users is a waste of time. And the reason I say this is because you cannot open up a user's head and say, okay, I'm going to put all this information down your head, and you have to remember all the information when the time comes. It's just not going to happen. I failed at doing that many, many times already. So what do? Well, when somebody's working on their tablet, or when they're working on in their desktop or laptop and they have a need at that point in time, provide them help at that time, directly in the interface. I'm looking at some component on the site and I don't understand what this document library says or this check-in, check-out is. Provide them some informational icon right there to help them when they need it, where they need it. And that help, by the way, doesn't have to be a video. It could be a screenshot, it could be document, it could be reference information. Whatever it is that you want to serve it to them when they need it. Not before, because they won't remember it. Not after, because then you've already lost them. But just in time.
So there's context-sensitive help.
Context-sensitive help, you're right. And that's another thing where if you say that I'm going to provide them all the help when they need it, no. You can't expect them to know exactly what to look for and to actively search for information. It's more about providing them help, just enough help, not too much, just enough and context sensitive.
Do you see videos as evolving in companies, creating their own video portal and motivating the employees to do some videos about their work or their how-tos or whatever?
The YouTube type of paradigm that came into our lives many years ago now has definitely taken over completely now. The production quality at one point I remember was paramount. That you have to have HD, you have to have the best scenario and all that stuff. That's not the case anymore. Now you just have to get the information out quickly to people when they need it, and I see that a lot where in production and in the corporate environments as well. People are making quick videos, quick packaged informational content basically for their users that they can use. And if you go for 100% production quality, you know what's going to happen is first of all, it's going to take you a long time to make it. By the time you're done making it, environment has changed already. Your interface has changed, and this has changed, and the business scenarios have changed. So I've seen people actually make some quick content, and that's exactly the way to do it right now. That's what we see on YouTube, that's what we see on sites like Vimeo and everything else, and that's what's happening internal to the environment as well, into the corporate. Give them information quickly, don't have to worry about doing it 100%. Even if it's 80%, just do it quickly, get them out there, make your point.
Okay, complete other question. Are you and your company completely moved to Office 365? Are you using Office 365 very heavily?
We're also hybrid right now. So we do a lot of stuff on-prem, we do a lot of stuff online. The reality is some of the stuff will never go online, depending on how sensitive it is. And some of the stuff just makes sense to be online, right? So we're doing the exact same thing right now for our company as well. We have a huge cloud presence with our content and everything else, but some of the stuff that needs to be on-prem, we keep on-prem.
How has Office 365 changed your work style all the way?
Big time.
Big time?
I remember a time when we used to have blade servers that we used to set up for training and things like that, right? You would have servers that you actually physically take from place to place, and that's your server environment. This is back in the SharePoint 2003 world. Yeah. From then to what I do right now, which is, you need something, you need a site collection or anything, you spin it up in a matter of seconds sometimes, which is amazing, So be able to empower other people with the content that you need, with the environment that you need, is much easier now than it used to be. It used to be a day setup, and now it's literally seconds or minutes to set that up. So it's a huge change, I think.
So you're doing trainings?
We do some trainings as well still, yeah. I used to do a lot more trainings before then right now. We're very much focused on our product at this point in time, which is the VisulaSP help system, which is the one that I described to you about, the just-in-time context training for end users. But we still do trainings as well. It's just that we are much more focused on more impactful training now instead of really, really long training. It's more about, okay, let's just do the job in the best finite amount of time that we can do for the best customer value. And then after that training, we leave them with the product for ongoing training, for ongoing help.
Do you have any function in Office 365 where you say, oh, this is one that I really like most because it's a very special value for me, I really need it?
One specific one in Office 365 as a whole, you're saying?
Whatever is the platform. What you're using?
I think all the components are pretty awesome. One new thing that has been changing my mindset about looking at things a little bit differently is the groups functionality, right? So Office 365 groups, which Microsoft will be putting a lot of investment in the future as well, it's a very good way for people to take it from their mail environment directly into a conversation, more collaborative environment. That's when one of the hardest thing for small businesses and for also medium businesses to understand the value of a collaboration environment. They look at Exchange, they look at Link, which is Skype for Business now, and they look at Office Professional as, that's Office 365. And some of them even forget that, oh yeah, I have licenses for SharePoint Online. For them, this is a really good transition to have exposure to groups where they can get their own shared notebook, conversation piece, shared documents powered by OneDrive for Business, right? And having a nice small group, or maybe it could be a big group also, where they can collaborate, and then they graduate, when they're ready, to a team site, to more of a process-centric environment. If you look at, an analogy I make is, if you think about a person collaborating or doing things for themselves, that's OneDrive. When you think of a group meeting together and doing things together, that's a group, Office 365 group. When you think of a group doing things beyond that, meaning needing workflows and needing forms and stuff like that, that's a process-driven group, and that's more team sites. Yeah. So it's me, we, and then we plus process. Yeah. And so I think we're getting them now. I like this, that's why I like this groups thing, that we're getting them from the me, OneDrive, and Exchange and Mail to the team sites, and there's a nice linkage with the groups functionality. So I really like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think today in the keynote from Jeff Teeper, he mentioned groups also very, and he said a very catchy phrase that groups are the glue. And do you remember, I think 2004, 2005, when the catchy phrase was SharePoint is the glue? It was exactly the same phrase.
I don't remember that, actually.
I know that was on a presentation. And so I think it's interesting, and it's good to watch groups.
That is true.
Asif, it was a great pleasure to have you here. Thank you for your insights.